here. This cafe is really beautiful. There's wonderful food. There's always like healthy food. And to me, it's just like, especially if you have a home office, getting out and sitting in a different environment, working, it's just really nice to sit somewhere else and you're used to, and it kind of gives you a new environment where you can be more creative. To me, it's just easier to focus also, because you can really get bored by just sitting at home and doing the same stuff every day. So I think one of the things I've actually been thinking about a lot lately is that when people they start a new business. So let's say you've started a new business, then what I usually see what happens is that in the first 3 months they're always like work really hard, they're motivated, all this. I've said this before. But what I then see is that, let's say they become mildly successful. So let's say if you run an agency, you get your first client. Let's say you've been doing $1,500 a month for maybe 2 to 3 months, and you've been working on this business 5 months. What's then usually happens is that they feel like, okay, I've gotten as successful as I'm able to with this specific business model. And then what I usually see happen is that they start looking at other business models. So let's say you're running a digital agency. You'll start looking at drop shipping, you'll start watching YouTube videos, the top 5 side hustles, all this stuff. And what people kind of forget is that if you put your energy, let's say, into 5 different things. So you have a mildly successful agency doing $2,000 a month. You'll start an e-commerce store, you'll do 4K revenue a month. You'll maybe have 1K in profit. Then you go out and you think, oh, okay, but I could also be closing calls for one of these courses that could maybe give me an extra $2,000 a month. And what they do is that they end up spending a full-time work on 5 different businesses. Let's say you are able to have maybe 5 hours of focus every day. Then you'll put 1 hour of focus into each business. And this will give you 5, I would say, mildly successful businesses. But when this becomes a problem is that you'll never be more than mildly successful if you spend 20% of your time on one business model. So you'll end up with a business doing quite alright. You can maybe get yourself through really hard work on all these different businesses to maybe like anywhere between $5-7K a month. And I understand that it seems attractive, because who wouldn't want to do $7K a month if they're right now doing 4? That makes sense to me. But the thing is that you'll reach a point where you'll not be able to scale these 5 businesses further, because you only give them 20% of your time. But what happens is that instead of using 100% of your focus and energy on one thing, you'll do it on 5 things. And what people don't understand is that almost all successful businesses comes from leverage over time. So what leverage over time means is that you need to have other people working for you, or you need a product that you could scale without producing it. Usually what we call it is subject to gravity. If a product is subject to gravity, that actually just means that every time you have to sell your product, you have to produce it. So let's say you're selling copywriting for businesses. Let's say you have a digital course as a client and you're selling them copywriting. What then happens is that every single time you will sell them copy, you have to make the copy. So this makes you subject to the amount of hours that you're able to work. So the way that you can leverage yourself out of this is hiring people. That's one way to leverage. The best way to do this is to, as soon as you have your 5 businesses, let's say you're sitting there right now, you're working on 3 different side hustles. What you have to do is you have to choose one of them, and then you have to spend 100% of your time and focus, because all success comes from hard work with a lot of focus over a long period of time. And people seem to not get this, like they will never ever have a successful business if they run 5 of them. And the reason they think this is because the huge entrepreneurs you always hear about in the news or whatever, they own 20 businesses. But what you don't get is that they own equity in 20 businesses based upon their investment. So it's not like they run 20 businesses. They have a stake in 20 different businesses because they have been working on one single business for a long period of time, helping them to make a lot of money. And then they may be selling their company, or they've been making a lot of money 5-10 years. Then have accumulated a lot of wealth, and from that they're able to invest. What you have to know is that you have to choose one business model, and then you have to go all in on that specific thing. There's no way that you'll ever be successful doing 5 businesses at one time. That's really, really good. So usually when I've been eating lunch, almost every day, I take a walk, as you can see. I live in a beautiful area here in Dubai, and it's just to keep energy flowing throughout the day, because you've probably been sitting in the office the whole day and you get tired and your head gets busy. When you get out, you get sunshine, you get much more energy, and then you just feel like that. I really hope you're going to think about what I said about focusing on one thing instead of doing 5 things, which might seem like a good idea. Because I really get it that you feel like, oh, you can only have such an amount of success with your individual business models. What I would just say is that you can never be successful focusing on 5 things, but to focus on one thing. So this is actually just the video for today, guys. I hope you like the new format, where you get to see a bit about my everyday life and what I do and how I do my work. So that's it for today. Have a nice day.